message of his Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity. Tulad natin kay Director Darwin Walindi is the Communications and Public Affairs na of
Sir, good morning po. No? So, I would just like to take this opportunity to announce po na on behalf of Presidential Peace Advisor Secretary Carlito G. Galvez Jr. po, tomorrow, September 1, we will be celebrating the National Peace Consciousness Month. For this year's theme is Peace Month at 20. Kasi 20 years na po tayo nagsiselebrate ng Peace Month since 2004 under the Presidential Proclamation of former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo po. So, this month at 20, Bagong Pilipinas, Transforming Minds, Transforming Lives. So, our theme for this year really bodes well with our implementation of the Philippine Comprehensive Peace Process. I would just like to give you a bit background kung ano po ba ang Comprehensive Peace Process po. So if you are quite familiar about the Philippine Development Plan na ginawa po ng NEDA, ano ba nakalagay ito? If this country would want to go from A to Z, we need a stable peace and order po. And this comes doon sa underlying. So kasama po to fully implement the peace agreements po. So part of which, at sinabi na rin Presidente Julie Casona, that under his administration, he will fulfill all the remaining obligations ng peace agreements po. No, so it bodes well. Why? Because our team focuses on transforming minds, transforming lives. Why? Because we are no longer in the negotiation phase. We are already implementing all signed peace agreements po. So, at the center of the implementation of the peace agreements is the transformation of the lives of the former combatants, their families, and their communities po. So, beyond the festive activities of the Peace Month, the celebration for the Peace Month po goes beyond, no? Ibig sabihin doon, we are encouraging every Filipino to rally behind the peace agenda of the Marcos administration. So, that's in essence ang mangyayari starting September 1. But what we want here is for the, not just for the Peace Month, but for the entire year, we need to celebrate the peace. Peace, we often take for granted. Pag pumunta po tayo sa mga ground, Samar areas, Bangsamoro areas, peace is very fragile, and we need to protect the peace process at all costs. Peace can be overturned in a overnight way. So we need to protect the peace process po. So on Monday, the President himself will officially open the National Peace Consciousness Platform sa Malacanang. Together with that, the President will also lead the commemoration of the 1996 final peace agreement between the government and the Moro National Liberation Front. What we expect on Monday is the Moro leaders, no, will express their support on the President's Bangsamoro peace agenda po. We have a President as again, no, as a context. The Bangsamoro peace process started with his father in 1970. So with the signing of the Tripoli Agreement in 1976, na more or na further fine-tune po ang peace agreement into 1996 final peace agreement. At na-fine-tune pa siya further into the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. And within the term of the Marcos administration junior, he aspired that all internal armed conflict must be fully addressed. Why? Because we cannot afford as a nation to move forward if we are divided. Because we have more pressing concern. We have issues with climate change. Kasi whether hindi ka rebelde o rebelde ka, pag may climate change po, pagbaha po, dami-dami po tayo. That gap between rich and poor, the social economic policies, we need to further fine-tune it. And of course, yung threat sa international security. So, we really need to solve our internal problems. Now, I would just to end lang po, I would just like to put out some of the activities that we will expect on the Backlog Peace Celebration po, no? So, tomorrow, there will be a ringing of peace bell sa may Quezon City Memorial Circle that my colleague Director Dennis will give us further updates on it. Meron po tayong Peace Education Summit, no? Because ang peace process po, hindi lang po in terms of security. Hindi lang po naglalagay tayo ng security guard dyan o ng police o ng military, ay peaceful na po tayo. But peace process, we need to ensure the institutionalization, no? Yung pag-strengthen ng mga institution, yung pag-empower ng mga sectors, ng mga women, youth, at kung ano-ano pa, to protect the peace process. So, aside from that, we have, for the first time, we will be having a peace run. That will be in MOA, and there will be also peace concerts. But again, I would like to emphasize, beyond this festive Peace Month celebration, what we are really trying to achieve here is for the Filipino people to support and rally behind the Marcos administration's peace agenda. That's all.
At this point, I would like to ask Director Dennis Legaspi to tell us about initiatives ng international and private partnership office out of group. Ano po ang kasalukuyan ginagawa ng office?
Sa office. Ano po, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Sanay po ako sa katabi ng aking sarili. Yung IPPO, no, bago mo yung unit na yun sa bago in the sense that before 2024, ang mandato lang nun yung tungkol sa international organizations, partnership with international organization. Kasi one thing about our peace process is that this attracted a lot of attention in terms of helping the development of farm area. And also because other countries are looking at our peace process as model. Yung dinagdag po ang private sector participation in the peace and development efforts. Kasi yan, sabi na siguro ni Director Tayo, yung mga mechanisms and approaches na ang pinupuntahan lahat ay mga key terms like normalization, transformative justice. Ang thinking, unang background nito, si Secretary Galvez, na naalala nyo, ay siya naging taxing sa ng doctor dito. And in their experience, wala pa po ako sa background, in their experience, naging maganda yung suporta at yung pakikipagtulungan sa private sector. So, noong January 2024, pinalitan namin yung mga partners sa vaccination, yung programs like Ayala Foundation, Swilling Family Foundation, pati po yung McDonald's, SM, and many other companies na can give you a list. So, kinausap namin. Sabi namin, pwede ba kayong participate sa development aspects of peace. Yung ibig sabihin ng development, Kasi po, habang isinasayos ng gobyerno yung mga lugar kung saan nakatira yung former combatants, yung former rebels na Asia, ang isa sa kailangan dalhin doon ay trabaho, di ba? Livelihood, kakalakal. Pero kung iniisip kung talagang peaceful na area, maayos na area, kailangan magpasok tayo doon ng yung trade and commerce dapat normalize. Kaya dapat may mga negosyo pumasok. Pero ang unang ginawa, pagpasok ay through the foundations. Iba-ibang foundations, whether international or national, may kanya-kanyang advocacies. Kunyari, ang Ayala Foundation, advocacy nila, yung stunted group, then invite namin sila sa area na based sa data namin ay mataas ang incidence ng stunted group or lack of nutrition. Sa ngayon, ginagawa naman ng mga iba't ibang organisasyon ng pag-ibig. Kunyari, isang example na isip ko ngayon, yung partnership ng World Food Program at ng Japanese government, it's about agricultural productivity. Yung mga tao, pinitrain silang magtanim, inaangat yung business sa agriculture para makaproduce ng sariling pagkain. At yung sobrang natutulis na titinda sa market. Yun po yung mga example ng initiatives. So, papasok yun sa iba-ibang level. Unang level nun, ano ba yung basic needs ng tao? Provide pa natin ng housing, diba? Pagkain. Tapos, iangat mo konti yung capability nila sa mga patutulong sa atin ng different skills. Hindi lang yung dating rebelde, kasi imagine mo po na marami na ito, hindi ba, medyo may edad lang, bumaba namin sa pagtatalo at pakikipaglaban. So, kailangan bigyan sila ng kakayahan para magtrabaho o may magawang enterprise din sa akin. Yun po in general, ang ginagawa ng bagong opisina. Ngayon po, sa ngayon po, may mga kausap tayong local at international good corporations at NGOs na pumapasok para magbigay ng sari-sari ng solusyon sa problema ng mga tao. Hindi lang sa Mindanao, kundi pati doon sa mga areas na nandun yung mga kasama na natin ngayon na dating sumabi sa mga tulusan na galing sa gobyerno.
Pero ba participation ng local groups dun sa forthcoming part election? Ano yung magiging role?
Sa part election po, ang mga intervention na kasi hindi kami makikialam sa election. No? Pero ang nasitulong namin dyan, may mga bansa na dumadating dito at gusto nilang tumulong sa unang-una yung voter certification. Kasi first time na magkakaroon ng election, tapos ang forma ng gobyerno doon ay parliamentary. So, in fact, kahit sa iba sa atin, di ba, di tayo ganun kaalam, no? Di tayo ganun kaalam kung paano election. So, yun na, voter certification. Siyempre, mga ibang activities ng UPAPU ay nakakatulong sa general situation din sa lugar. No? Yun, ongoing pakikipag-usap. Saka yung decommissioning nakakatulong. At yung mga ganitang activities. Siguro, pwede mo na sabihin dahil talaga test yan sa atin, no? Kung dahil katiba yung peace process no? At kung talagang may na-achieve na tayo na level ng normalcy.
Director Darwin, hindi pa malaking challenge sa inyo na buhayin sa isipan ng mga Pilipino yung mahalagaan ng peace. Kasi peace is foreign. Ma-appreciate lang natin ng peace kapag nawala ito. Ginanap tayo ng 1970s, 1980s, kami-kabila, nagkakaroon ng patayan, we love peace. Pero ngayon, peace is as normal as pagsilat ng araw. So, paano bubuhayin yung kahalagahan sa puso't isipan? And every day is peaceful.
Maraming salamat po, sir. No? Sir, i-dagdag ko lang muna yun sa part. Yung sa part po, very clear ang instruction ni Presidente po. So there shall be a peaceful, orderly, and credible first bar election in 2025. The first election in bar is very symbolic. Kasi kung nasa media pa po ako, when I was asked to write about the peace process in Mindanao, medyo at loss ako dati. Kasi I cannot fully understand that context. But when you ask basic question, ba't ba may rebellion dyan? Ba't ba nagre-rebellion din ng Moro, no? So, nalaman natin na before pa nagkaroon ng Pilipinas, they are already exercising their own political rights. So, ang ibig sabihin doon, meron na silang political empowerment. That's why meron tayong autonomy. Now, under all signed peace agreements sa Bangsamoro, ang nakatuon talaga doon is that their own political rights to chart their own destiny. At how will you articulate that into action? Through election. Wala lang appointment, so ang message po ni Presidente very clear. There shall be peaceful, orderly, importante po, credible election in Tacoma. So that, yun yung in-expect po natin by next year. For with regards sa peace po, tama po yun, sir, no? Kahit nakasama namin yung mga taga-private sector. Dagdag ko lang yung sa sinabi ni Director Davis. Ang sabi nga ng yung kasama po namin si Margo Torres ng McDonald. Sabi niya sa private sector, tayo, we just take advantage ng peace eh. Kasi hindi natin nararamdaman. At tama rin po yun, sir. In fact, when I was still in the media, I would often cover the peace process. Kung may away yung dalawang panig eh. But the point is, peace is very important to ensure where are we going as a nation. No? So ang sinasabi nga namin, we need the support of the Filipino people, particularly yung sa effort ng Marcos administration to end all armed conflict. Kasi we cannot go as divided nation. And if we want to achieve the tiger economy, so there, peace must prevail. No? So kaya po, nananawagan ko talaga kami. No? Peace, hindi lang siya during peace month. Let's do it in a daily, in a weekly, in a monthly, in a year-long, in a lifetime service.
Exact lang ako, pero kasi efforts talaga nila Director Gary. So, talaga namin lumawak yung audience sa Pilipinas. Lagi yung pinag-uusapan sa opisina pag ginagawa ng mga gawain namin para ilabas yung information na dapat kasi hindi lang doon sa preaching to the choir. Paulit-ulit kami nag-usap sa peace. Kasi tinitest din namin minsan kung gaano lalim ng kalawak ng kaalaman, especially ng younger generation. Sabi namin sir na minsan tayo peaceful na, we take it for granted kasi we're enjoying the results of a successful peace and successful peace process. Yung naitulong mo na magagawa ng mga forum na ganito at pakikipag-isa sa media ay maparating sa mas maraming mga mayroong Pilipinas kung ano ang mahalaga ng peace. So yung pagkakaroon natin audience na nakikita about peace, lalo na may sa panahon ngayon, maraming kalapan kung usapin na ito. Kaya yun, maraming efforts sa papo na dalhin sa ibang nila. Kasama ng yung sa paaralan ng peace education para masama sa pag-iisip ng mga kabataan ng kapayapaan. Salamat.
Ano na nangyari sa BIFF? Nangyari ba sila? Nag-agree na sila sa peace process? Or
As a background po, when we talk about the comprehensive peace process, kasama po dyan yung peace agreements with the Moro National Liberation Front, Moro Islamic Liberation Front, then yung isa naman for the Cordilleras, yung isa naman sa, ang tawag namin sa kanila kapatiran, so Alex po kayo, Brigade Group. However, we don't limit ourselves doon sa mga rebel fronts, no? We also engage and try to, kasi nga, going back again sa team, no? Transforming lives, transforming minds. So, napakahalaga po yung pagtatransform sa mga buhay, not just of the rebel, members of the rebel groups, but also yung mga nag-breakaway. So, kasama na po dyan yung Busaya, yung Ute, at yung po. But eventually, as the peace process progress, mawawala na yung rason kung ba't sila nagre-rebelde. Because we have a system in the peace process, particularly in the Bangsamoro, na mas mataas pa yung political empowerment. They have their own voices. Now, if they want to change the society, hindi na through the battle of guns. They can join the parliament. They can come up with policies and debate them. So, landscape are gradually changing towards the to fully sustain the gains of the peace process.
Meron bang peace dividends tayo?
Yes, sir. Both ang pinakamalaking dividendo ng kapayapaan. For example, for the Bangsamoro, the peace process is divided into two tracks. Uno, we have a political track and the normalization / transformation track. Now, ano po ang ibig sabihin ng political track? Since ang peace agreements po is that for them to enjoy their own autonomy, meron na po tayong Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Yun yung call ng mga rebel groups. Now we want to bring back that political empowerment. Then, the political autonomy. And on top of that, every year kasi sir, dati, kahit kami sa government, every year we go to Congress and we ask for budget. But in the Bangsamoro context, you have that fiscal autonomy. It's a black grant, automatic po yung dumidiretso sa region. Because how can you be an autonomy like every year you go to Congress and ask for it? Pero with accountability, hindi nawawala po yun. And number two, yung sa transformation and normalization, we are trying to rehabilitate areas that were once affected by the armed conflict. At yung pagpatransform po sa mga former rebels, hindi lang po sa physical, hindi lang yung sa pagbaba ng armas, kundi yung mindset po, na hindi mo na kailangan gumamit ng armas or ng dahas to change the society because the system are already in place. So, yun po pinakamalaking dividendo ng peace process po. Pero, ang sabi nga ni Pangulong Marcos, ang peace agreement ay hindi effective. It will not be translated into jobs, creations, economic activity, and education po. So, ito.
Si former MNLF chairman, Luis Suarez, ano yung papel na dito sa peace process? Sir ba?
Kasi sa tamang-tama yung tanong niyo, sir, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, on Monday, the President will grace the commemoration of the 1996 final peace agreement between the government and the which was signed by the founding chairman, si Don Visual po. Now, kung maaalala nyo sir, two months pa lang si Presidente sa kanyang opisina. For the first time, no, he was able to unify the moral leaders. Kasi nga dati sir, nagpatakbag ko. MNLF, nag-break away into MI, at nagkaroon pa ng iba't ibang group. Pero under the Marcos administration, under the banner of unity, all of those moral leaders came from MILF and MNLF or other organizations have already been part of the party. In fact, the President appointed them as the interim parliament doon sa party. Ang tawag nila doon is Bangsamoro Transition Authority. Now, si Chair Visual, because of his old age, however, his son and daughters are already there and even part of the ministries of God. So everybody is on board. Wala po tayong no one is left behind all the Bangsamoro peace process.
Sa ano po bang standard o ba, bro, sa pagkakaroon ng baril? I mean, sabi nila, nasa kultura daw ng Pilipino yung mahilig sa baril. Of course, alam kong meron kayong effort na bawiin yung baril. I-deposit ko somewhere para hindi magamit. Kasi ang ehemplo po ng pinakamagulong bansa, Afghanistan, maraming baril ang sibilyan. Ang ehemplo po ng pinakatahimik na bansa, ang Switzerland, mas maraming baril for every civilian. So ano po yung standard po pa po? Kasi yan ang isa sa mga pinag-uusapan sa BIRMM, kung sila ba'y patuloy na makakapagtago o makakapagdala ng kanilang baril.
I understand. Walang, ano lang, almost, yung agreement with the MNL. Hindi na i-give up yung arms sila. Pero, in contrast, sa MI, nag-agree sila.
Yes po. Just to answer your question po, no, I think what we want to address here is culture of insecurity. Pag yung tao naman ay may sense of security at the law enforcement is in place, I don't think that you need to bear arms. Because functional po yung barangay, functional po yung law enforcement, so hindi na po kailangan yun. With regards to your question about, yes, tama po yun. Ang meron lang sa 1996 Final Peace Agreement po, yung integration ng mga combatants ng MNLF sa police at saka sa AFP po. However, we have our program right now. Tawag po namin doon is transformation program. Kung meron po tayong normalization program for the MI, we have transformation program for the MNLF. Anong ginagawa doon? Same pa rin po yung concept. It has 4 components po, no? Yung sa security, socio-economic, yung amnesty, saka yung transitional justice. So, as we speak, we have almost 2,000 MNLF members na undergo na po ng profiling. Yung mga baril po nila, ini-stencil po yun. So, kinukuha yung numbers at kung ano pa. So, para kung magamit man, documented po siya. Yun po ang so, again, we have normalization process sa MI, we have transformation process sa MI.
Okay, i-open natin na media.
Kasi,
Kita ng mga.
kung peace process yan,
Alice.
alis sa tapusin mo na natin si Yusek, ito process ito. Malamang hindi pa peace ang sasabihin ni Yusek process.
Questions para sa mga taga-overlook? Okay.
Hi sir, good morning po. Michael Dunizo sir sa ABS-CBN. So sir, September is considered as Peace Month and this year is also the 20th year of the Peace Month. Where are we now sir in the transformation program for MNLF?
For the MNLF po, no, check, i-check ko lang talaga yung datos para clear tayo doon. So, as I mentioned kanina, we have a transformation program for the MNLF commanders, their combatants, not commanders, but for the combatants in general, their families and their communities po. So as of now, ang na-profile na po, no, is 1,963 combatants completed the socio-economic profiling. So kinukuha ko yung profile ko nila so they can have an access to government services po, no. At yung pag-i-stencil po ng kanilang mga armas. Ang mga armas naman po, ngayon, as of now, no, we already documented 1,996 firearms ng MNLF po. And we expect also members of the MNLF to apply for amnesty po. So, as we speak, the data as of yesterday, number of applicants is already 794. So mixed po to, no? May MNLF, may MILF, may LPA. So mixed po itong numero na to. But as we progress, we expect more to come. Sa MILF, according to Secretary Galvez, kausap ko siya kanina, he expect around 1,000 to 3,000 na mag-a-apply sa amnesty. In fact po, nasa news po ngayon, si Commander Bravo po ng Danao, he already expressed his intention to apply for amnesty. Ang amnesty kasi it obliterates your previous sins na bore out your political struggle of course. Hindi covered yung mga heinous crime. Yes, sir, kailangan po yun. If they want to run, they need to be amnesty. Kasi if you undergo yourself sa proseso niya, maibabalik ulit yung mga usual rights mo like yung sa particular language.
Sir, with the application of Commander Bravo po, what will happen to his cases?
Pag-aralan po yan, no? Ang proseso kasi, magpa-file po siya sa National Amnesty Commission at may review process po yun. So, doon po. So, ayan po natin yung process.
Sir, sorry for my ignorance, no? Pag sinabi natin profiling, ano ibig sabihin ito? Alam po ba nila na profile sila?
Opo, hindi po tayo makakapunta sa mga communities nila po kung hindi po to agreed mutually. So, we go there and we get their names. Yung mga usual po, no? Kasi ang sinasabi nga, and some of these areas, hindi masyadong, wala po doon yung mga birth registrations. Now, how can you avail government services kung wala po tayo? So, that is yung pag-register po, yung pangalan nyo, at yung mga basic information po, is your ticket to avail government services in the full spectrum ng transformation process.
Sensor.
Opo.
Sir, bakit po September tayo nag-celebrate ng Peace Month? Ano po yung significance, sir, ng Peace Month?
Kung maalala nyo, marami kasi nangyari peace months po sa month of September. Number one po, yung 1996 Final Peace Agreement. It was signed on September 2, 1996. Kasama rin po yung sinasabi natin SIPAC Agreement sa Cordillera, tayo po ni Pangulong Cory Aquino po. At saka nung time ni Ramos, he created the National Unification Commission po. Ang nag-lead po doon si Commissioner Heidi Yora po. Yun yung naging precursor ng Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace Management na lumawak na ngayon na naging Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace reconciliation at unity po. At nakataon din, September din po yung International Day of Peace. So maraming milestone siya, kaya nung time ni Pangulong Gloria Macapagal, Arroyo issued a proclamation that every September of the year is National Peace Consciousness.
Questions pa para sa Obabro?
I-explain na yata ng several minutes. Kasi baka merong, ito pa na yung pwede masagot na siguro, si Music muna, unahin natin. Napaliwanag na ito ng DOJ, pero sige, yung dagdag lang, explain to us what it is not. Yung issue ng korte, kung tayo tuloy recently. What it is not. Of course, may idea kami what it is, explain it, but what it is not.
Go back in time yan. Yung petition kasi is petition for writ of amparo. Yung petition for writ of amparo is an extraordinary remedy that is meant to address violation or threatened violation to life, liberty, or property of any individual or person for unlawful acts or omissions. So, yung aspetong yun pa lang, medyo questionable na talaga dahil hindi naman unlawful yung conduct ng pag-serve ng warrant of arrest. That is part and parcel of the law enforcement authority of the Philippine National Police. So that's the first ground. Secondly, yung isang aspeto pa niyan, yung warrant of arrest is issue ng Regional Trial Court. Ang nag-issue naman ng order ng temporary relief na yan ay Regional Trial Court din. Basic, it is jurisdiction of courts that no co-equal court can interfere with the lawful orders of a co-equal court. Thirdly, yung sinasabi nilang aspeto ng free ingress and egress, may free ingress and egress din naman. At pang-apat, yung kasong yan actually ni Pastor Tutuloy ay meron ng order ang Supreme Court for the transfer of venue. So, lahat na kaso dapat ng involving Pastor Tutuloy and his co-accused should be transferred as a matter of course out of judicial courtesy. Yun, sa tingin namin, kaya parang lumabas na there may be an overreach on the part of the judge who issued that, and he may have to do some explaining. I don't know if the DILG Secretary Benor Avalos or the PNP filed a motion for clarification for the judge to explain why he did what he did para hindi mo magkaroon ng confusion at problem siya. Isa pa, yung rule of law dapat ang magibabaw, hindi magiging saklaw ng ating freedom of expression or freedom of religion or freedom of association na banggain yung ibang nakakataas na rule of law or yung public interest. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan dito ay mas mataas na antas na ilahad yung batas at yung batas ang magibabaw sa lahat regardless of your station in life or in society.
So, ano po ito sa tanong ko, saan ba nagsisimula yung sedisyon? Kasi meron mga personalidad na kamakailan ginawa ng laban daw ito ng kasamaan at ng kaliliman. Meron na bang nakakagawa knowingly or unknowingly ng seditious acts sa paugnay sa usaping ito?
Alam mo, Ariel, ongoing investigation yan. Mahirap pangunahan naman yung mga law enforcement agencies natin, yung kapulisan at ang NBI. So, titingnan natin kasi it could be a spur in the moment or outburst na nabanggit yan. Emotional outburst or passion or obfuscation, sabi nila. he was passionately obfuscated at that point. So, hindi ko natin alam. So, yan ay patuloy na pinag-aaralan at ayaw naman namin paunahan dahil kung darating na yung pagkakataon na iakyat nila na bilang kaso yan, ay sa amin babagsakin. So, it's not fair to make any comment at this point. So, let's just ask the law enforcement agencies to conduct their investigation, and if and when they file, that's the time that the National Prosecution Service would determine whether or not there is prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction to initiate one.
That could have been remains from carefully pass is stressing the parang render sila i-guarantee o sa President Secretary Remulla na hindi siya turn over sa legal. Is this within the law of legality? Is this something that the DOJ is asking?
Again, no, hindi ko paunahan kung ano man yung desisyon na nakakataas sa akin, lalo na kasi that is a major policy decision. But kung darating man yung panahon na yan, ay option ng gobyerno. Kasi obligasyon natin meron tayong extradition treaty. So, yung sinasabi niya na guarantee, no one in government can give that guarantee. Strictly speaking, parang optics lang yan kung tutuusin mo dahil pag nahawakan mo yun, pero yung gobyerno natin ang pumirma. That was concurred in by Senate. It is an obligation of the state, regardless of whoever is in the leadership position now. So, ay yung sinasabi niya na actually hindi na lang si DOJ Secretary yung kalihim natin na Boyeng Remulla at hinihingan namin. Pati ang mahal natin mga Pangulo gusto niyang kuhanan. But again, titingnan mo yan na if that kind of treatment would be given to him, bakit hindi yung mga pobreng tao na may kaso din? I mean, fair is fair. Ang vision at saka yung mantra ng administrasyon natin tungkol sa bagay na yan ay ang administrasyong Marcos ay pantay-pantay na paglakad ng batas at paghabol ng may kasalanan. At i-expect naman nila that things will be acted upon fairly, and the courts are, as you know, ang daming ebidensya yan. Napawalang visa si dating Senator Leonard de Lima, may wala Rockford, Manalo. I think that's part of the process. The wheel of justice is working perfectly fine. It may be grinding slowly, but it does work.
Yes, follow-up. So, if ever man mag-issue natin ng guarantee letter sa President and or the DOJ Secretary, hindi siya legally binding kasi meron tayong extradition.
That is a legal issue that needs to be carefully studied. Kasi in the first place, no government official would want to violate the law. And lahat ng treaties po natin have the force of law once they are signed and concurred in by Senate. That's part of our legal obligation. And you can just imagine if we would renege on our international obligations in favor of an individual. So, yan mo ay isang bagay na napagtutuunan mo natin ng pansin at masusing pag-aralan sa darating ng panahon.
Dalawang paraan para madala sa si Ginoong Apollo Quirino. What is extradition? Kasama yung through Interpol.
Extradition nito, yung kasing Interpol, Ariel, ay isang proseso lamang yan na preparatory to legal process. By itself, that is not the end. Kasi yung Interpol is simply put, 185 member plus countries whose idea is to ensure cooperation and coordination between and amongst law enforcement agencies and information or data sharing. Hanggang doon lang yan. Kung yung pag-implementa ng mga lawful processes ay kailangan dadaan ka sa local authorities kung saan yung requested state. Okay? So, yung aspeto yan ay iba sa aspeto ng extradition. Kasi yung extradition naman, yan ay obligasyon na automatically covered ang isang tao kahit na citizen mo yan, kahit na mamamayan mo, for example, ay pwede mag-subject ng extradition provided that it is properly requested and covered kasi may mutuality principle yan. Ibig sabihin, yung krimen na subject ng extradition ay krimen din sa magkaparehas ng partido. Nabigyan ng pagkakataon yung taong subject ng extradition na ilakayan ka ng depensa. Kung ganun klase ba? At hindi mo pagkaparehas na.
Kaso ni Ginoong Tibuloy sa US, at kaso ni dito.
Alam mo, magkaiba yun. Trafficking, same cases, pero committed different times and involving different persons at times. Kasi jurisdictional, remember the jurisdictional ang criminal cases. So, merong krimen na nangyari doon na hinahabol ng Amerika. May krimen din na nandito na subject ng mga qualified trafficking cases natin sa Pasig ngayon. So, magkaiba po yun. So, kung mamarapatin ng Amerika ng halin, wala pa kasi request for extradition at this point. Kung mamarapatin nila yan, ay pag-aralan, dadaan po sa amin, by the way, sa Department of Justice. Similar to the case ng kay Congressman Teves, former Congressman Teves, dumaan mo tayo sa proseso ng extradition doon at ang tumatayo bilang abogado natin ay hindi natin private lawyer, Prosecutor General ng Timor-Leste. Kung yan ay darapin sa punto na manghingi ng extradition yung Amerika para sa kay Pastor Tibuloy dito, ang lawyer nila hindi mga American lawyers, hindi Philippine lawyers, kundi ang Department of Justice. Kami ang tatayo doon para maharap sa idulog yung kaso niyan sa korte at magbigay sila ng panahon. Kaya, judicial process pa rin ang tatakbo.
Almar Dangilan from Police Files Tonight. Sir, since next month or this Monday, nandun tayo sa Peace Month na sinasabi. Ngayon, ano pwede may alok ng government kay Tibuloy in order to encourage him to surrender? Kasi ang kinakatakutan niya ngayon is yung kinaharap niyang kaso sa US. Yun ang parang nakikita na kinakatukuan ng pag-surrender. So ano maipangako kung sakali to encourage him to surrender aside from his security?
Alam mo nyo, ang may papangako yan harapin niya yung kaso at ilakad niya yung kanyang ebidensya. Yun namang posibilidad na may extradite siya, that will be subject of legal processes. Pwede niya questioning yun pwede niya sabihin na meron namang pending case dito sa atin. Pero ang bagay na yan, sir, hindi mo pwede mabigyan ng garantiya na hindi gagawin dahil yung isang bagay na yan ay outside of our prerogative dahil ang maghihingi, Amerika, hindi naman tayo. So, yung pagbibigay ng garantiyan yan, it's more of a personal act yan na hindi masyadong magiging mabigat na bagay kung titignan mo sa pangkalahatang obligasyon ng Pilipinas sa mga tratado natin, sa treaties and obligations natin. Kaya pinakamainam talaga is for him to come out, present his evidence, present himself, and address the charges. He will be given a fair and impartial trial.
Ano bang sitwasyon yan na nakikita yung parang act of defiance? Ito ba'y makakapenta kung because nabigyan ko lang tayo kasi nga. So, as it is not talaga ang kinis ka niya, fugitive from justice.
Yes. Yes, Adel, kasi meron lawful order. Police arrest and he is evading that. So anybody who is evading a lawful order that is issued by the courts, that is a fugitive, and he can be arrested anywhere because there's a warrant for arrest. Yun po ang sitwasyon ngayon dyan.
Yung po bang kaso ng harboring at fugitive, hindi isinasintabi ng gobyerno o ng gobyerno sa mga.
Hindi. Hindi. Actually, lahat mo nang nangyari dyan, kung tutusin mo, careful din tayo yung pag-express ng support or freedom of association and expression, etc. Kasi the moment that you interfere or you obstruct the implementation of a lawful order, that could be an obstruction of justice. You may even be charged as an accomplice after the fact na tinatawag. Kasi hindi lang accomplice yung sumabay ka na gumawa ng isang krimen. Kung ikaw ay sinabi mo na harboring, giving aid and comfort, ganyan. Pwede kang magiging cargo mo yan sa legal na paraan dahil tumulong ka sa isang fugitive na tao na dapat karapatan mo na surrender. Remember na meron ng meron ng citizen's arrest pati kung tutuusin mo. So, maraming aspeto yan na pwedeng mangyari, lalo na kung physical na mag-obstruct ka or labanan mo. Yung nangyaring dispersal, lumaban sila, potentially many of them could be charged in court.
Before we continue, I would like to thank
Hindi ko na natin ang great statement si Director Darwin para sa kanilang Peace Month celebration. Dapat natin tulungan itong peace kasi again, in the presence of peace, walang nag-appreciate ng peace.
Maraming salamat po, no? Muli, we encourage everyone to celebrate not just the National Peace Consciousness Month, but we should do it on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly, on a lifelong celebration po. So we also thank the local government of Quezon City po for tomorrow's Ring of Peace Day. So, muli, maraming salamat.
Thank you.
So, I'm not aware of the details of the provisional arrangement. Pero ang sabi ko lang ay una, mukhang ang malinaw lang na nagkaroon ng lokanik ay wala sa kanilang gumagamit ng lakas. Para hindi na maulit. Para hindi maulit yung nangyari ng delegate yun. Okay, so at least on that issue, tutugma so far, no? Wala tayo narinig na report na nag-ulit yun. Pangalawa, parang, well, obviously naman po sa ating mga practitioners sa media na parang mas tahimik na yun. No? Meaning, dahil walang nangyayari, walang nare-report, hindi rin nakadala rin yung media sa iyo. Parang yun lang yung nakikita kong klaro na aspeto. Kung ano man yung provisional arrangement na yan, hindi natin alam, parehong panic, hindi nagkasalita. Ayan. Pero, masabi lang natin at least parang tumahimik muna yung pangyayari sa ayunin. Ang problema nga lang, hindi ko mo tumahimik doon, tumahimik din the rest of the Philippines. Nakita natin, may kabila, ang ginawa, nilipat yung pansin niya at yung effort niya doon naman sa Lina of Scholarship. Kaya doon may mangyayari yung mga manggaan at tension sa dalawang panig. So, nakakalungkot ito kasi na kahit sabihin nila na nagkaroon ng provisional arrangement nga sa ayunin, whatever that is, no? Parang as a matter of good faith, dapat kung ano yung arrangement doon, ito din yung arrangement din sa iba. Or rather, yung actions nila, yung maging consistent doon. Otherwise, nangyayari kung baka talagang hindi sila katiwa-tiwala na okay, patayin ka dito, pero sa kabila, biglang lalakas ang iba, hindi mas hindi pa yung bahas
parang understanding ko kasi yung demand ng Beijing. One is to give them prior notice na magkakaroon ng moderation and resumption. Second, yung i-inspect nila yung pwede na pupunta ron kung may kailangan construction materials.
Oh, pero kaya naman din sinabi ng Pilipinas, hindi tayo papayag no? Na parang hindi tayo papaalam tayo, hindi tayo tuloy tapos papaandar tayo sa kanila, no? Papa-inspect natin. Hindi tayo patuloy China. Ha? Kaya yung ganong klaseng demand, hindi talaga makakalimutan ng Pilipinas yung gobyerno yun. Pag tinanggap natin yun, di parang sa ilalim na tayo sa kanila. No? Wala na tayong totoong kasarilan. Diba? Parang naging province of China na talaga tayo. Kaya hindi pwede yun. Ito lang po, pasok mo nga sa pag-usap. Manakausap ko rin. Sa DFA, wala talagang ganung usapan. Papayag tayo. Hindi talaga pumayag ng Pilipinas.
Dr. J, may yung official ng US Navy na pwede silang sumama sa resupply mission. Anong pwedeng epekto nito? Assuming, again, speculate tayo. Tanggapin nito, ni General Browner at sinabi, sige, escorted tayo ng barko ng US Navy.
Well, siyempre, para sa kabila, may idea. Talagang ayaw niya. Dahil una, dahil concerned sila kung ano mangyayari. Ibig sabihin, maraming din kabila. Pag ganun, ang sitwasyon niya. Siguro sila dapat. Pangalawa, ibig ba rin sabihin itong Philippine Coast Guard, yung supply vessel, hindi na niya talaga pwede lapitan dahil makakanahan sila ng exporting the vessel. So, dahil doon, really, siyempre, malaki yung implication doon sa level o parang tensions yung nature ng situation doon sa lugar. Baka biglang naglabo-labo dahil yung nervyos. So, yun yung implication. Kaya din ang gobyerno, ang forces ingat yun na hindi basta-basta lang yung gagawin nila na magpapa-escort sa UK. Isa pa, ang practical, para sa akin, isa rin yung mahalagang aspekto niyan is pinapakita din ng Pilipinas na hanggang sa makakaya niya, sa sarili din niya problema ito. Hindi yung dito parang bata ka na mo tinapos ka rin sa maghuli, tatakbo ka agad sa iba. Kailangan ipakita muna natin na talagang tumitindig tayo ng PDP. Kaya mahalaga yun, only as a last resort talaga natin ma-invoke yung alliance, hindi first resort. Hindi first resort.
Sa kasagsagan ng Cold War, the art of brinkmanship ang nagdala ng kapayapaan. Ang famous piece of that. This week na ngayon, dapat na i-activate na rin natin yung art of brinkmanship para, well, kung hindi man respeto, may tapat yung kanila na maging agresibo lang sa atin. Strategy na takot sila na magkakaroon ka namin yung malaking gulo.
Well, in the first place, historically, the Philippines has not engaged in terrorism. Bakit? Kasi nga, ang preference ng Pilipinas is maayos at mapayap ng usapan. Kahit na nung issue kunwari sa Malaysia, o sa Sabah, kaya yung sa ibang claimants sa South Asia, kaya ng Vietnam, Malaysia, never tayo nag-option na talagang parang provocative para parang hinahamon natin sila. Kasi ganun, parang nagpapin yung business. Tingnan natin sa tao. Pinag-ginagawa yun. So I don't think that is the intention. And I don't think it's an option either. This one. Kasi, brinksmanship works kung more or less equal kayo. Kaya dito, kita natin, yung situation is not equal. Kaya hindi natin gagamitin niya.
Yes, sir.
Ito yung mga patrolya ng Chinese Navy. Dati 200 miles away. Ngayon less than 100 miles away na sa pampang ng Pilipinas. Ano yung pinapakita nito? Mas naging agresibo sila, mali ba yung strategy na inilalapat ng ating bansa?
Actually, hindi ko ito response eh. Yung ginagawa nila recently yung mga patrol, malapit sa atin. Hindi ko yung response. Dahil nangyayari na po yan before. During the Duterte administration, hindi ko nga doon siya nag-umpisa. Monitor po sila as close as 60 nautical miles from Pangasinan. April 2022, yun yung particular na instance na talagang binabantayan sila kasi involved din po yung ilang scientists natin sa UP. So yung China Coast Guard, nag-attempt na mag-conduct ng tawag ko ng law enforcement, 60 nautical miles. So hindi po ito bago. Okay? Hindi po ito reaction kung sa nangyari sa subdivision. Ganyan po talagang ginagawa nila before pa. Dati pa. And ang purpose nun ay para ipabukaan nila. Para ipalabas nila na kontrolado nila yung buong South China Sea Philippines hanggang sa hangganan ng Gas Line. At sasabihin nila yung karoon na okay mo, alam kami ng patrol na dyan, wala kami yung Pilipinas, sabihin tinanong ko dyan. So yun yung pinagusto nila para sa iyo. Pero yun nga, kaya nga hindi tatalab yun, despite that. Kaya inupunti yung time sa iyo. At hindi natin kinikilala yung kanilang website. So, kahit ba lumapit sila hanggang sa 12.1 nautical miles ng Pilipinas, limit na natin territory at sea of Tupos. Kahit ba umabot sila doon, kahit kailan hindi nila magagamit yun bilang ebidensya na yung muna tayo sa kanila, at kuwaya na tayo na yung kanilang boundary ay hindi po mangyayari yun as long as you're always protesting those activities and as long as you're also continually patrolling our own waters.
Hi sir, ano po masasabi niyo ngayon na yung harassment ay hindi na lang sa waters natin, kundi na rin sa ipakaw, ito ba ba?
Actually, yung pag-akit ng mga activities niya sa ERIC, na-anticipate na po yan. Noong 2022, kasama yan sa isang paper na presentation na ginawa ko sa US. Sinabi ko na noon na talagang aakit sa ERIC yung mga activities na kaya. So, nangyari although, actually, as of 2022, meron nang nangyayari na nasa area na, pero hindi ba pagkita. Kasi walang ganung klaseng incident na namita ng players yung ating American team, ating American football. Pero in terms of observations na nagkakaroon ng mga overflight, lalo ng mga drones, mga pa, nangyayari na po yun dito. Yun nga lang, hindi pinapakita dito.
Sir, ngayon, nakikita niyo po ba na magiging pattern ng mga ganitong klaseng harassment ng China sa iba?
Oo. Kasi, tandaan natin ang intention ng China sa kupin yung South China Sea sa Philippines. Para masakop nila yan, kailangan ipakita nila na constant yung kanilang presence ng patrol. Lalo na kanilang mga armed forces law enforcement. Kaya talaga tutuloy nila yan. Pupunuin nila yan hanggang sa sumuko ang Pilipinas sa lahat ng mga sila. Yun po talaga ang gusto.
Ngayon po, parang sinabi ng National Maritime Council na tinitigan nila na palawakin yung provisional agreement sa aviation sa iba pang areas sa West Philippine Sea. Do you think, sir, it's a practical thing to do na magkaroon din tayo ng agreement sa iba't ibang areas sa West Philippine Sea?
Well, hindi na lang yung content mismo kung yung provisional agreement. So, kaya hindi na nasabi ko. Pero yung idea na dapat kung anong conduct, anong behavior mo sa isang lugar, dapat yung behavior mo sa isang lugar, tama naman po yun. Para na una ma-avoid yung mga aksidente, mga insidente maaaring hindi wala. Para pag-pareho yung expectation, normal, alam ko ano yung dapat na expectation. So in that sense, dapat nga. No? And actually, yung sana yung ginagawa nitong Code of Conduct Negotiation. No? Establish clear rules and norms of behavior. Applicable to all. Yun na, problema natin yung kapila. Tayo na always been even bending backwards to accommodate. No? And also, we've been parang enduring a lot. Pero pabago-bago natin yung kapila. Pagkasunod, isa, tuloy pa rin siya. So, magiging na yan, sila yung parang hindi maganda. It does not really engender trust and confidence, which is the very basic element of the act. You can build trust and confidence through consistency of conduct. Wala yun. Wala mangyari.
Last na lang sa akin, sir. Matatawag po ba natin na bagong flashpoint ngayon ng tension sa West Philippine Sea, ang Escort?
Hirap yan. Ang mahirap yan is everything is flashpoint. Maganda pakinggan, lalo na sa mga articles, mga news, flashpoint. Para sa akin, yung nangyayari sa scholarship, hindi naman yung, kumbaga, hindi tayo dapat masyadong nakafocus doon sa isang lugar dahil ang ginagawa ng China yung buong West Philippine Sea. Just so happens na yung sa Escoda, parang ngayon, doon nakatingin ng lahat. Kaya doon nagkaroon ng paglaan, attention dito. Pero dapat yan eh. We should always consider it in the concept of context of the entire West Philippine Sea. Tuloy pa rin ang challenges natin sa Scarborough Shoal, sa Ayungin Shoal, at dun sa area paligid ng Kalayaan. Matuloy pa yan. Nagkakataon lang in some places, nagkakaroon ng incident na nakaka-attract natin. Pero hindi tayo dapat sway. Hindi tayo dapat mag-distract niya. Dahil ang dapat titignan ano yung kabuuan ng sinasakop ng China sa mga dito ng klase.
Ano yung extent ng deterrence gusto ng gobyerno natin? Parang may recent statement si Defense Secretary Gilbert Sidoro na we need at least 40 multi-role fighters na alam naman natin, China has very huge military meron pa silang aircraft carrier and so on. Is it worth building up the military na it will cost so much and yet meron tayong mga problema sa poverty and so on?
Pero sa akin po, it is, kasi na, the reason why China is acting the way it is confident siya na siya yung malakas, mahina ang Pilipinas, kaya-kaya niyang i-dominate ang Pilipinas. Dahil wala siyang may pupukat na any kind of serious business na. Para sa atin, siyempre, ang solusyon doon is pakita natin na hindi kami ipitsugin lamang. Pwede mo ignore. Basta-basta mo lang katapakan. Meron pa rin tayo, meron pa rin tayo asin. Pwede pa rin tayo umagat. At mahalaga na ipakita rin natin na pag tayo umagat, tayo lumaban, hindi lang tayo isa. Marami pa rin tutulong sa atin. Kaya yung deterrence ay hindi tayo lang, kundi dapat yung contribution ng lahat ng ating mga kaibigan ng tayo. Doon lang mag-respond din ang China. Kasi kung one-on-one lang, obvious. Hindi natin sila pinag-deter kung one-on-one lang. Dahil mas mahina tayo in terms of economy. Pero kung makita niya na hindi na tayo iisa, kapag tayo sinubok niyang tulad, marami palang ibang nagpupusta, marami palang ibang respondent, kung siya mag-deter. Importante yun. Ngayon, yung investment natin dito sa mga aircraft and projects, mahalaga din yan. Kasi kailangan ipakita din natin, mas naman sa ating mga kaibigan, na hindi tayo parang malakas at parang sila. Lahat ng burden, lahat ng cost, ipapasa natin sa kanila. Ibang usapan yun. Para ka naman talagang para kang magiging burden ka para sa kanila. So kailangan mo ipakita na hindi, ginagawa natin ito, hindi para ipasa sa kanila yung problema, kundi dahil hinaharap natin, and yet, in spite of all our efforts, all our power, we still need that. Kaya ipakita natin. Ipakita natin yung intention natin. Una, proteksyonan ko lang yung talagang sarili na sa atin, sa abot natin makakaya. It's when we cannot do it na, when we finally are unable to produce the result na, that's the time talaga tao tayo.
Parang yung Chinese side expressed concern over yung reported deployment ng Philippine missiles. Para sinasabi nila, permanente na yun. Para yung exercises na dinala ito ng US. Pero tinanggal yun. Tinanggal din.
Concern sila.
Kailangan ba natin should we ask the US to deploy strategic
missiles? Hindi ko alam ng mga maraming tao na ang Philippines po ngayon ay within the range of short, medium, and long-range missiles of China. Lahat po ng lugar. Yung pong mga bases nila din sa South China Sea, artificial islands nila, may mga missiles din po yan. Abot na po yan ang Sulusi, abot na po niya yung Palawan, halos. So, bakit tayo tahimik lang? Because, balik pa pala yung situation, kung ganun pala yung situation, bakit sila concerned kung magkaroon tayo ng sarili natin missiles? Kagaya ng province. Bakit sila concerned na may nakita silang nag-deploy ang English na missiles sa buwan natin? Kaya kung ilan yun, kasi makita mo, it's really difficult. Kaya sila concerned, mabawasan yung superior advantage nila na tayo over ng missiles nila. Wala tayong kalakalapan. Ayaw nila, gusto nila yung ayaw nila na magkaroon tayo ng high protein. Laban. Yun. Kaya para sa akin, mahal pa rin na magkaroon na tayo ng sarili natin mga missiles dyan, magpa-deploy din tayo. Whether it is ours in the US, basta kailangan meron. Dahil yun lang ang pwede yung maka-cause sa kanila. Problema, concern. Kaya hindi mo, kaya bago yung kanila. Yung thinking nila. Doon ang gagaling yung dependence.
at solving from our own purchase of advanced armaments?
Yes.
What's that?
Unfortunate situation, the Chinese are
Pag yung vertical na nag-iisip yung boundary natin territorial sea, sa ngayon, okay, yung vertical na limit, yun po yung boundary natin territorial sea. Sa ngayon, yung kanilang patrols hindi pumapasok sa nautical miles. Okay? Kasi yun naman talagang justification sa patrol nila is yung 9-dash line. Yung 9-dash line po, yung pinakamalapit po ng portion niya, mga 22 nautical miles away. So wala silang dahilan para lumabas doon. So I do not see them violating the nautical limit with their Coast Guard. No? Alam nila wala silang basehan at all para doon. At best, okay, their best case scenario is makikiraan sila to exercise innocent passage to get from the South China Sea to and the Philippine Sea to the Pacific Ocean. Saan tatawid sila. So kunwari, meron silang agreement with the Western and Central Pacific Fisheries Commission na mag-deploy ng mga 25 Coast Guard vessels para tumulong sa pagpatrolya ng West Pacific for tuna fishing. Sila ang binigyan. Maaaring yung ibang bato dyan, pwede mo sa Silungan, maaaring dumaan sila to the Philippines. Okay? Yun lang pwedeng gagawin. Hindi patrolyo. Hindi pwedeng patrolyo. Dahil labag yun sa batas. At alam nilang labag yun sa international law. Kasi kung gagawin nila yun, hindi kahit sinong bansa pwede rin magpatrolyo sa kanilang territorial sea. I don't see that happening. Yung nangyayari po sa Escoda ay nasa EEZ po natin at pinoconcentrate nila dun sa area nila. Kasi nga, para sa kanila, no, kung EEZ natin, medyo mas limited yung powers ng state. Sa ngayon, yung in-exercise ng ating powers ng patrol, it's exercised by the Coast Guard kasi nga, it's related to our protection of our natural resources, which is exactly what the EEZ is for.
What would trigger vote version of this obviously.
Hindi, kasi nga, yung alliance natin, no, ang basic trigger is yung armed attack. Diba? So, hanggang hindi sila ma-atake, then hindi mo i-invoke yung free. Okay. Kahit sa easy. Anywhere, no? The MBP applies anywhere in the Pacific area. So, actually, issue na sa labas, kahit sa labas ang easy, pwede yun. Kahit sa loob ng ating interactive waters, pwede yun. As long as there is that condition na meron kang contact. So, kung kaya iiwasan din yun ng China na mag-undertake ng obvious armed attack. Isa pa, yung NDP, remember, it is for collective self-defense. Essentially, that means the armed attack is wide-scale and large-scale. So, single incidents may not necessarily require the response of the NDP. That's why yung mga incidents so far, hindi pa yung considered na wide-scale, large-scale, and deliberate attack against the Philippines itself. Parang yun yung iniiwasan din ng China. Malumabas yun. So, kung wala yun, ang sinasandalan po natin is yung security relationship natin with our allies and friends. Kaya nga po, marami tayong suporta ng forces nila in terms of surveillance, intelligence, accessible po sa atin yan. Kaya po nag-increase din yung ating capabilities to know what's going on. Kasi natutulungan din tayo sa aspeto na yan. So, right.
Sir, regarding to sa MPP, nakikita niyo po ba yung pakailangan na palawakin yung interpretasyon ng MPP, particularly sa armed attack, tulad po ng in-announce earlier ng defense?
Well, actually po yung mga ganung aspeto covered po yun by the defense guidelines. Kung ang sinasabi po ng mga tao, review the MPP para baguhin yung MPP, magkaroon ng bagong MPP, sa akin hindi po kailangan yun. The terms of the MPP are broad enough as it is. Ang talagang challenge is yung operationalization. And that is to develop the defense guidelines and subsequent discussions with them. So yung mga issues ng interpretation na yun, pwede po yung gawin na ngayon pala between the two countries through the existing mechanisms.
Doctor, armed attack. Simula po noong 9/11, yung pagbangga ng aeroplano, kinonsider ang armed attack. Yung pagbangga ng barko, can be considered as armed attack.
Yan po siguro yung issue kung bakit mayroong idea na dapat i-review yung NDP. magbangga ng barko. Maraming. Para sa akin, personal opinion ko, pwede. Why? Because the ship itself is a weapon. It's really used as a weapon. So in that sense, it's an armed attack. Pero hindi pa po agree lahat dito. Kasi din naman, yung ramming ng another vessel as a tactic of war, yung po panahon yung mga sailing ships sila. Hindi na po siya ginagamit ng yung modern period. Kasi nga, pag niramo yun sa vessel, yun also endangering yung vessel. Kaya siguro hindi siya, kaya siya hindi na conventionally viewed, no? Usually viewed as an attack today. Pero pwede po yun.
May tatlong question po ba dyan? Anong ikaw sa moral? Coast Guard. Hindi mo anong lumaban. The only standing order is not to fight. Ano po ikaw sa moral ng ating Coast Guard, mga Navy?
Well, I'm sure, siyempre, dinubuha ko ng partido, pero I'm sure it does have a negative effect. Standing orders na hindi lumaban, no? Pero kailangan din maintindihan nila kung ano yung, kumbaga, konteksto, ano yung broader situation, kung bakit sila hindi binigyan ng order to fight back. And I think they can understand that. Kasi tingnan nyo rin yung kumbaga yung situation. Kumbaga kayo mismo, no? Pinadala kayo sa lugar na nakalayo, wala kayong magkasama. And you're supposed to undertake reconnaissance. Kung meron ng standing orders na banatang pwede yung encounter, at least na isolated at wala kang pinakamalaya makakatulong sa'yo is 100 miles away, ano yung magiging epekto mo sa mission mo? Ano may magiging epekto mo sa'yo? Hindi lang unit. Baka mamaya yung segments of factor failure, etc. Hindi mo makukomplete yung mission because dito sa an incident po. So ganun po, no? Yung mga ganung considerations, yung mga broader considerations. Dito po sa atin, I think kung pinaka naging mahalagang consideration is hindi dapat makita na tayo nag-provoke ng incident. Na hindi tayo yung naghahanap ng away. Hindi tayo nag-umpisa ng away. And I think in that sense, malinaw na malinaw kung sa incident na hindi talaga tayo magkasama. Tayo talaga yung nagpigil at nagpipihan. Kita-kita ng buong mundo kung sino talaga ang receiver.
Pay to us kung anong resulta ng assuming nagkaroon ng putukan dyan sa South China Sea. At inigong natin ng Itolical Treaty. I suppose itirahin din ng Chinese Navy. Tapos may alliance ng US at saka ang Japan na automatic participation in Australia. So any incident na yung conventional definition ng attack, ito ay conflagration in the making.
Pero pinit po yan, no? Ito siguro, maganda pala tinanong yan. Kasi maraming tao parang misunderstanding na basta sinabi mong inilgo mo yung NDT, automatic umpisa ng World War III. Hindi po ganun ang mundo. Hindi po ito parang video data ng isang video. Kung magkakaroon po ng insidente, una, siyempre, yung broader context nun, yung incident din ba yun, ay parte ng isang large-scale attack on the Philippines as a whole. Meaning, it is the initiation of a war talaga by the design. That's the time na yung situation ng armed attack comes in, NDT comes in at full effect na yung talagang iipo. Pero anything less than that, pero lang isang insidente, nakaputukan isang insidente, that does not mean automatic we're in a state of war. Bakit? Maaaring isolated incident, maaaring may natulog, maaaring hindi naman yung intention, etc. Many other considerations will come into play. Kasi it is in nobody's interest to start a war. That's very clear. So mag-iingat din sila. So, kahit magkaroon po ng insidente, at i-invoke yung NDT, hindi na ibig sabihin na umpisa ng gera. Yung NDT is broad enough na pwede mong gawin, pwede siyang gamitin para mag-respond doon lang sa situation niya. Meaning, mare, karoon mag-ano ba ito? kailangan ipigilan mo siya sa pagpatuloy ng pagbangga ng bato. Tatawag ka ng tulong para huminto yung pagbangga ng bato. Then that is the situation. It can end there. Be a presence of another of an ally. We end that situation. Yung danger of escalation will always be there, but also all commanders are very much aware na they cannot stop a war of their own. That's why they have yung tinatawag na rules of engagement. Para masigurado na hindi sila mag-mission. So, pag may incident po dyan, ganun. Meron pong tinatawag na escalation path. At each stage ng escalation path niya, nandiyan yung mga opportunities pag parties involved, yung kanilang governance, to try to manage the crisis and end it there. End the crisis at that point, so that it does not escalate. Marami na pong nangyari ganyan sa history, especially between the US and USSR. Okay? 1950s and 60s, marami pong incident na yung Soviet Union ay pinabagsak po ng mga aeroplane, patrol aircraft ng US, na reconnaissance aircraft. Pinabagsak nila. At may mga namatay. Pero hindi po yun nag-resulta sa World War III. Kasi nga po, nandun yung mga crisis mechanisms. Kasi nga, ang tinitingnan ng dalawang panig, kahit nangyari yun, ano yung overall interest ng mga bansa. The worst na nangyari between the US and USSR was yung Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Doon talaga lumapit. Nagkalapitan na talaga yung mga navy ng dalawang bansa. Nagkaroon ng possibility na magkakaroon sila. Pero, in the end, nag-TV pa rin both sides. Dahil pareho sila ayaw na magkaroon na mag-isa isang tira. So, na-resolve yung crisis eventually to back down. So, meron, yan yung kailangan natin i-stress na hindi yung gano'n simple automatic. Depende pa rin yan doon sa mga gobyerno ito. Lalo na on our part, yung parties ito, Philippines and China first. Nasa kanila yung parang burden niya of managing the crisis.
This one question. Do you think that the situation now is much worse than it was before? As far as escalation, and as far as one spark will result to a massive conflagration. Also, yung ginagawa ko sa inyo, ginagawa sa ano, do you think that like what is happening in the Indian-Chinese border, where both sides are utilizing caveman tactics in their warfare, paano ba tayo sa ganun? Do you think?
Hindi ko tayo hatong doon kasi nasa dagat yung issue. I don't think nangyayari yun na ayaw magdadala tayo ng mga acts at magiging-pagsaksakan tayo sa kanila. Hirap yun. Hirap yung voice stupid. I don't think abot sa ganun. Pero, is it a worse situation? Well, yes, in the sense na yung kabila has decided to deploy even more. Habang tayo, consistent pa rin tayo. Hindi lang yung pinakadala kasi yung ganun pa rin pinakadala. Kung ano yung mga ginagawa natin sa patrol, ginagawa natin. Yung mga makis na natin, patuloy na. Pero yung kabila, decide na baguhin na yan. Sila itong pumapasok, sila itong humaharap. Sila itong nagpapakitang gilas, sila yung nambabangga. So in that sense, it's not worse. No? Pero tingnan natin, ang dapat natin sa bakit? Is it because we are provoking? We're just continuing what we've been doing for so long. It's not us, it's them. Sila yung nagbago ngayon ng taktika. Bakit? Gusto na nila talaga sa pupil yung kasi lalo na nakita nila pumakalat tayo. Kung hindi tayo pumapalag, patuloy sila sa pagsakop, kaya nakapasok yung mga milisya at na-improve nila yung artificial na sila. Nagpapatrol niya sila hanggang 60 nautical miles. Pero tahimik tayo. Namihasa tuloy. Ngayon pumalag tayo, ayan, nag-restore sila. So it's not because of us. It's really because they decided to escalate.
Sa kay Yusek Vasquez, yung sa Quadco hearing, merong hindi lang subtle, hindi na maging state witness ang spill the beam. Yung sa dalawa na nahuli, yung sila at saka yung Cassandra. Pwede ko pa sila na maging state witness.
Kung pwede silang maging state witnesses, ay isang bagay na pag-isipan ng maigil ng prosecution natin. And normally, you would avail of that if your pieces of evidence are not that strong by themselves. Yung sa kanilang kasing dalawa, kulang na kulang pa yung detalye. Ang daming hindi ko alam. Maraming mga aspeto ng mga biyahe nila na hindi ka panipaniwala. Kaya kung tutuusin mo, kailangan namin ng law enforcement agency na i-verify kung tama ba o hindi yung sinasabi ni sila na paraan kung sino malis. That's for one. Kasi meron din sinabi si Senator Risa na nag-file daw ng 200 million. That is a matter that is being investigated seriously by our law enforcement agencies, NBI and PCPO. So this is not at all a closed case. We have to verify whether or not they're telling the truth. And in the first place, they haven't spilled much in the first place. Wala pa. Hanggang kung tatanungin mo ng detalye ng sila pati, I don't know, I don't remember. Doon naman sa kabila, si Cassandra, sumulat yung abogado, si Attorney Ferdy Topacio, na they're invoking their right against self-incrimination, even ahead of the hearing. And normally, yung availment of the right against self-incrimination ay kung dumating yung question lamang. So, hindi mo pwedeng gawing blanket justification or carte blanche justification sa lahat ng usapin, kahit hearing man yan sa Husgado o hearing man yan sa Senado o sa Kongreso, na hindi ka magsasalita dahil sa you may incriminate yourself.
Yung gusto ko ang ulo na kung sino may katagawan kaya kalabas ng bansa. Tuloy pa ba yung investigation sa communication sa maaaring involved ng enforcement agencies?
Tuloy po, hintayin nyo yung susunod na kabanata sa bahay. Ongoing. May mga taong pananagot talaga. Kasi lalo na, tinitignan kung alin ba talaga yung nangyari. Ano ba talaga yung paraan na ginawa nila. Yan ba ay tumaan sa ating mga airports or seaports. Yan ba ay tumaan sa mga private ports. Ang dami kasi private ports sa Pilipinas. Remember that we are a maritime country. So it's so easy to take the back door, so to speak. Ang biruan na namin, yung historia ni Sheila, parang nanood yata ng Born Legacy, di ba? Yung sa ending. Papuntang Malaysia yun. So, barko pa, fishing boat ang ginamit. So, probably, ang sabi niya kasi 3 araw daw na sinakyan nila. Tanong, pwede bang pumayag yung dalawa? 3. Si Sheila, si Alice, at saka si Wesley. Pumayag ba sila na ganong klaseng sasakyan? The home force and all. Kaya may nagsasabi na hindi yun, parang deflection yan, or it is a way to divert the discussion or the issue.
So, hindi pa rin yung mga maaaring involved na Bureau of Immigration.
Hindi namin tinutok ng Bureau of Immigration. Basta kung sino man na law enforcement na nagkaroon ng pagkakamali o worse, ng ipagsabuatan o ano man, hindi nila dinamparan ng kanilang trabaho, ay mananagot po sila after investigation. Let's give that to the law enforcement para may pasihan po naman yung mga aksyon na administratibo at even criminal kung sa kasakalan na ipakita na may criminal acts na ginawa laban sa mga tao.
Sa pagpunta dyan na sa bago tayo paalam, sa tingin niyo ba, batay doon sa salaysay nila sa informasyon na nakuha ng mga iba pa ng investigative agencies? Because alam natin na para maging state witness, kailangan split it. Sa kanila pang buwento ng kanilang participation or not participation, sino yung maaaring split it sa mga kaso?
That is too premature to say, Ariel, dahil nasa preliminary investigation pa lamang yan. And normally, ang pagbibigay ng state witness ay sa korte. At pagkatapos na makita ng prosecution, kung sino dyan ang pwede maging witness, maging importante witness na makapag-tahi-tahi at ma-justify niya yung lahat na nangyari para lalong itibay ang kaso laban sa mga tunay at mastermind o yung the people who committed the crime.
Siguro, time for two questions na lang. We're running out of time. Nana. Sige, last.
Both sisters recorded. Nirahin na ko yung underworld angle, in other words. Kasi ito mga tawag na nasa sa Maya, they've been around for hundreds of years. Diba? So, do you think there's an angle to look through? They've been around.
Sir, that is not being discounted. That is part of the broad and comprehensive investigation. Because certainly, it's not easy to do what they did. It's not. Napakahirap yan. At saka, kung galing ka dito, may paano yung mga papel mo. Paglabas kasi nila, ginamit nila Philippine passport na yun. So, normally, pag nandito sa kabila kasi, sa ibang country, country of entry mo na tinatawag, hindi natataklan ng country of entry mo kung wala kang entry o wala kang stop or exit stop doon sa passport. So, you could see that there are certain unseen factors that came into play. I don't know, and that's the subject of the investigation of how that was managed. Where was there connivance? Was there actions by criminal syndicates? We don't know. But that is an active, ongoing police investigation ng NBI at PNP.
Okay, kung wala na, let's conclude this today's edition of our regular news forum. I would like to thank